Hey guys, I'm here with Haley Helveston, and she is why don't you tell everyone what you do, Haley?
Okay, I'm a sexuality empowerment coach. So I'm all about empowering you to have healthier, happier relationships.
Fantastic. And you work with both men and women, correct?
Yes, I do.
And you're based in Atlanta?
Mhm.
Cool. And do you work mostly in person with people, or do you work online as well?
Mainly online, but I do host workshops too.
Cool, great. And how long have you been doing this type of work?
I was a health coach and then I switched over to this. So I've probably been doing sexuality empowerment coaching for almost 9 months.
Yeah. And are you finding there's a lot of demand for this kind of work?
Yes, definitely. I think a lot of people now I'm super comfortable talking about it, kind of like when you and I go live on IG, but I'm realizing that it's a big demand, and there's a lot of people that are struggling sexually. It's for them. It's just finding the right resources and finding the right people.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the subject of semen retention. I know this is something we've both discussed before, and I'm really interested in hearing a woman's view on semen retention. Like if this is something that you encourage men to do, or at least regulating their ejaculation.
hmm Definitely. I mean, after we went live 2 weeks ago, right, on
Knows about
Instagram.
that. I think it was last week actually.
Oh, last. The days are going by fast. um, I actually do encourage men to do it, but I think it's good hearing from you because you're a man and they're like, oh wow, your skin. Like I'm all for it because you can you're like glowing with sexual energy right now, and you can just tell like after all the research I've done and like the more I've gotten into studying sexuality and sexual energy, like it's really vital that men learn to control that and
Yeah,
then learn the importance of controlling it. Because I think a
ab-
lot of men don't understand.
absolutely. And there's so much doctors tell men that, oh, well, if you masturbate every day and ejaculate, I mean, you'll be healthy. But what I'm finding is that a lot of men are coming to me, they're in their 40s and 50s and they're having health issues because they've ejaculated so much and they're really feeling that depletion from ejaculation.
Oh
So
yeah, definitely.
it's
And you can
important.
tell by skin too.
What was that?
I said you can tell by their skin.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And their eyes, they look like they're just a little bit depleted, and it's
Mhm.
obvious.
Yeah, definitely. I had a woman tell me they're probably mid 40s, so that makes sense that they're coming to you that age. And her husband has to take Viagra every time they want to have sex.
Yeah, and that's very common.
So,
And it's a powerful way for any man, but especially men who are getting up in age to improve their sexual ability and recover from all these sexual dysfunctions that have become so common. Is being aware that they don't need to ejaculate every time they have sex, and that they can still have orgasms without ejaculating.
yes, definitely. I agree with you. And I think that's why it's so important with what you and I are about doing because it's about explaining it and then telling them, like, this is so important that you get this now, you know?
Yeah, yeah, because the earlier on you're able to start it, the less ingrained you will be with your lifelong habits.
And the happier the woman will be.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's funny because it it really actually helps you improve your performance. What I found is that the more the longer you're retaining for, the more you build up this sexual energy, and you actually have much more orgasmic energy to work with. Like most men are experiencing extremely weak orgasms when they're ejaculating every day, and when you actually build this energy up and you learn to have non-ejaculatory orgasms, it's such a higher experience, and it's so much more pleasurable and fulfilling than just dropping your load and rolling over and falling asleep.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. You can't even explain it.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think a lot of men, they have this hesitation about practicing retention in a relationship because they think that the woman will think it's unnatural or strange.
Yes, I think that all goes back to lack of education.
Yes,
You know,
definitely.
'cause I mean, I'm an open book, so I'm constantly telling my guy friends and men that I meet and just everybody about this. But I think that, like, if the woman's unaware and then the guy starts doing that, then yeah, it would be weird because they both have lack of education around their bodies. But I think if he explains like the importance of it and really the benefits, I think that's where it comes in, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's important that he doesn't just make it all about himself. Like, oh, I'm doing this because I need these things, but it can really bring a couple closer together because they're able to actually have better sex. The man can last longer because he knows how to control his ejaculation. So it really, I found, can actually really deepen the relationship. And then when they learn to consciously exchange their sexual energy, it just brings the whole experience of sex and sexual connection to a much higher level.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Do you think that a lot of women have sort of an attachment to receiving the man's semen?
You know, it's really weird. I hear like up and down. I hear some women, they're like, I really love the feeling of that. But then like for me personally, I don't like that feeling at all. And,
Yeah.
you know, so I think it really depends on the woman and the emotional connection between the two people.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think too, I think that's like such an intimate thing, you know?
It is.
But I think that, especially, you know, if the guy does it too soon and then you're about to come and then, you know, it's like the fighting and all that. So I think it depends on the couple.
Yeah, that's true. It is different for every person. You know, some men come to me and they're like, oh, well, I'm trying to do this, but you know, my partner, she just like really wants my semen. So it's difficult. And, you know, I think it's kind of like it's this physical, so it's sort of a sign, you know, it's like they have this tangible thing like, oh, well, I pleased my partner, you know, because here's this physical evidence of that. So I think some women are afraid that because he's not physically ejaculating that he's not pleased on some level. So I think communication about this is very important, definitely.
Oh, because the woman wants to be sure, oh, okay, he's fulfilled, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I've been reading a lot about the health benefits of ejaculation, like the fluid, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you know, maybe that's the reason too.
Yeah, that's true. And I think, you know, sometimes there could be a happy medium, like, you know, maybe once a month the man ejaculates, or once every 2 weeks, whatever, you know, because some men are able to have these intervals. You know, it's not necessarily realistic that you're going to be retaining your semen forever. So you can still release at certain intervals during sex and still have all the benefits. So it's definitely about finding that balance.
Yes, definitely. Oh, and I've got a question. Do you, I was researching it, and the guy was saying he ejaculates every 7 days, but then I heard do it once a month. And then I'm like hearing all these, what do you recommend?
Yeah. So I recommend, I mean, based on what I've heard several teachers say, and just based on my own experiences, it depends on the age. So there's kind of this like minimum frequency, like you shouldn't ejaculate you shouldn't ejaculate more than every so many days. One formula I got from a teacher is you take your age and you multiply it by 0.2. So for example, I'm 30, so 30 times 0.2, it's about 6. So it would be about 6 days for me. So that means if I ejaculated, if I waited at least 6 days to ejaculate, then I would optimally recover. But if I ejaculated within that 6 days, then I would be in a depleted state. So that's kind of like bare minimum. But I personally choose to go much longer, but that's just one example.
Yes. Yeah. That's good to know.
Yeah, I tell most men, you know, if you really feel like you want to be ejaculating, then, you know, every 2 weeks, you know, maybe, or once a week if you're like really young and healthy, if you really feel like you need that. Yeah,
because don't you think they get addicted to that feeling?
Definitely.
And they program themselves to do it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about is, so there's sort of this myth, you know, that men have much more interest in sex than women. And do you find that true?
I love that you bring that up. No, actually, it's so funny. Okay, so I've had women come to me and they're like, he can't keep up, or why am I the one always initiating? And so I think that's, you know, that all goes back to lack of sexual education, and it's so frustrating to me because I'm I'm even learning this with myself. Like, I haven't even hit where I want to hit sexually because I'm just like, oh, there's so much to explore. And so I think that, like with women, it's just so many women are oppressed and they're not knowledgeable of their bodies. And they're, all the like maybe religious shame or guilt or the programming. And so, yeah, I actually think women are way more sexual than men. We just have, and think about it too. It takes us longer. So if your guy lasts 2 seconds and then you're like, well, maybe I'm just not, maybe, because a lot of women tell me this, maybe I'm just not one of those ladies that comes during intercourse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you just haven't learned how to do it.
Yeah, maybe I just can't orgasm. Because isn't it like there's a large percent of women that have never experienced an orgasm? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's actually huge. Well, and there's even more divide between majority of experienced clitoral versus vaginal.
Yeah.
Because clitoral, is kind of like the guys of the quick, hit. But I think it is so sad because I think I'd mentioned this to you before. I'm not sure, but I volunteered for Atlanta Tantra Festival last October. And at the festival, we're all sitting around the table. Everybody's super, just like really refreshing how everybody's open and honest about their sex lives. And the lady next to me told me that she was in her 60s and she had just gotten divorced and she had never had an orgasm.
Wow.
I know.
Talk about missing out.
It made me so sad for her because, and it made me sad, but then it also made me angry because I was like, man, yeah, you're right. Talk about missing out, but it's also like she has no idea. Mm-hmm. But then I was also really glad that she was at that festival because people are super open. Like, no, like the lady next to me is like in a polyamorous relationship, and the lady across from me was talking about what porn she liked. So it was super, which was good. She was in the right place. But yeah, you're right. It's crazy.
Yeah. Do you ever work with women who have low sex drive? Like maybe they want to be more sexual, but they just don't have that desire. Is that something for you?
Yes, but again, I think that's hormonal. I think that's stress. I think it's maybe I'm supposed to have low libido. Like a lady reached out. This is a while ago, and she said, ever since I gave birth, I'm not sexual. And so it had been over a year since she'd had an orgasm. Mm-hmm. And her husband, it was like causing major problems because she got the A-OK to have sex again. And then after that, she was like, I don't really see a purpose because I'm not. And so I think it's like the communication between them, they need to work on that. But it was also for her, it was the programming over. I think a lot of women deal with once I'm a mom, maybe I don't need to be sexual. There's like all these beliefs around motherhood and sex.
Yeah.
And so I think that, and for her to learn her body too, because I gave her and I was like, can you fill it out and then send it back to me? And one of the questions is how is your sexual relationship with yourself? And she was like, I don't have one. That's my husband's job. And so that all goes back to the whole thing about, and I posted on this recently on Instagram, your orgasm is your responsibility. But she said, no, that's not my responsibility. It's my husband's. So it's that whole, But yeah, I was sad for her because she was so, and then I said, do you self-pleasure? How is your self, like, do you have a ritual? What do you do? And she was like, no. So then that all goes back to the religious thing. And then, it's deep stuff.
It is. It's these sexual wounds and these sexual, blockages are so deep just as a species, really. There's just so much conditioning and so much oppression around it and repression. It's just, Mm-hmm. This is really important work, what we're doing, I feel like. So
yes, definitely. For sure.
So how do you help these women get their sex drive back, get their interest in sex back?
Well, I mean, it all goes back to the beliefs, but then but also it's like, okay, I'm going to give you self-pleasure homework, Mm-hmm. And so part of that for me, that one person, we ended up not working together because she was so shut off and so anti touching herself. Yeah. And so I said, you have to learn your body to teach him, and so that's the number one is let's give you a 30-day self-pleasure ritual. And there's different types of rituals I can give them. And then it's also working on the beliefs around sex and around their bodies and just owning their pleasure. And because I always love the quote, when a woman is empowered in her sexuality and her sexual power, her whole life changes and she actually speaks up for herself. She speaks her truth. I mean, everything changes.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it changes for me, but for women, it's like, my pleasure matters. What, you know?
Yeah,
So,
totally.
yeah.
And
Or at least for me, it did.
yeah, I think it's interesting what you're saying about how, like these women who are, they're unfamiliar with pleasuring themselves, and it's like so if you have that sort of, you're shy about this area of your body, if you don't want to touch it, then of course there's going to be some, you're not going to be ultimately fulfilled in that area. So you have to get to know yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's just so different between men and women, because think about it, men, your parts are on the outside and then ours are, but it's also too the programming, the conditioning around, like I even have now, even to this day, I've had friends, really close girlfriends, where I'm like, girlfriend, did you do the self-pleasure homework I gave you? Because I want everybody to experience like what I'm experiencing. But yeah, a lot of women are still really closed off to it, or the whole belief that, it's the man's job. And I'm like, Lord, yes, he does have a part in you coming, but you also have to direct him.
Yeah, totally. So it really, it's like you have to know what you want before you can expect someone else to help you achieve that.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of resistance too around female pleasure, which is crazy. But then when you think about it, like when there's resistance, there's something huge under that,
That's true. Yeah. And then so for men, there's this issue of masturbation. And because I often, I give men these tools of you basically, if a man wants to last longer in bed, he has to train himself, like it takes work like anything, you just have to practice and get better at it. And the best way to practice is to be by yourself. So obviously we want to avoid ejaculating. So I give men these practices to learn to move their aroused sexual energy out of their genitals and diffuse it throughout their body. And so many men have, so with this NoFap movement now, which is becoming huge. And I think there's a lot of great aspects to it, but unfortunately there's a lot of body shame around it as well. Like men are like, okay, well, I can't ever touch my penis again, unless I'm having sex with a woman. But then it's like, of course, if you're not training this, or if you're just neglecting this part of your body, you're going to have issues and you're not going to be able to last longer in bed. So I think, men and women together, they need to work on their own pleasure and work on cultivating that themselves. And then when they're in a relationship with someone else, it's just incredibly powerful.
Wow. I've never heard about that in terms of the men have, that makes sense though. Cause I have had some men tell me that they're like,
I mean, most in general, most men aren't afraid to pleasure themselves, but a lot of the guys who are coming to me because they've been doing NoFap and they get all this, oh, well, masturbation it's shameful. It's something I shouldn't do. And for me, the problem's not masturbation. The problem is excessive ejaculation. So I'm just trying to get clear about that with men.
Yes, I agree with you, which all goes back to education, man.
So what are some common problems that your male clients come to you with?
Not lasting long enough.
That's a big one. How do you help them last longer?
Well, I give them techniques like you do, but it's also the belief work too.
Yeah.
And then, I have guys come to me too about the whole, they're single and they want to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do I manifest my dream partner? Through sexual energy.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I think and then the whole porn thing too plays into it. I'm actually not for porn, or at least in very limited quantities, because I think that's a big problem for people.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something we've talked about before.
Yeah.
So do you have a lot of men coming to you who have porn addictions?
Not as many as I used to.
Okay. What advice did you give the men who did come to you with their porn addiction issue?
I gave them exercises to do, but I do think that it's some of them were so extreme I had to send them to other people.
Yeah.
I was like, but it is, I gave them rituals to do. And just like when you feel the need to do that, do something else. But or do like a breath work or self pleasure on your own and use your like visualization. But I do think that it's also like training yourself to like look at sex differently. Like I've learned so much through my own work and then through doing this with talking to other people in the industry. And I think it's like, I went live with this guy last night and he was talking about a lot of men view sex from like changing the male perspective from viewing it from conquering to connection. And I love that. Like, isn't that amazing?
Totally,
yeah. Cause it's so great. Yeah. Cause he brought up the whole locker room talk and everything. And it's so, and it just doesn't help men at all. And I love that, like changing the rewiring over. It's all about connecting with a woman in a very deeper way instead of let's just go real quick and then, roll over.
Yeah, absolutely. For so many people, they're just completely, well, probably more, at least men anyway, but they're so focused on the physical aspect of sex. But sex is it's this multidimensional, multifaceted experience. It's not just a physical connection. It's a heart connection. It can be a spiritual connection. It's just, there's so many levels of exchange happening. So to just focus on this one little aspect of it, which so many men are programmed to do, it's just so limiting. And I think it's one of the biggest reasons why men are unable to experience a higher orgasm, because they're just like, oh, well, I'm stuck down here in my genitals. So it's really about getting all areas of your being into that deep connection.
And do you think that because they're stuck down here, do you think it leaves them feeling empty after?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because there's no heart connection. It's just, it's this impulsive, really animalistic desire. And then they usually just, blow out their energy and they never really felt a connection and they just feel drained and empty afterwards.
Yes. Yeah. Someone told me that recently. I thought, oh, that does make sense that you would feel empty.
Absolutely. So another common thing I'm finding is that men who are, we have this sort of stereotype about the married couple and they've been married for decades and they only have sex, once a month, if that, so it's like some guy left a comment on one of my videos. He's like, just get married and you'll retain lots of semen.
Oh.
So, we have this stereotype about the sexless marriage. Is this something that you've encountered with your clients?
Yes, I do. But I also think that that's not funny because that's sad,
I know. Yeah.
And I kind of viewed that way a little bit at one point. I remember being like, oh, I don't want to get married. But then I do think it, as Kim and Ami views it, like use sex as and I'm sure you view it the same way, as a vehicle for growth and spiritual evolution. And so it's like, let's constantly be going deeper and deeper within ourselves and within our relationship sexually.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really like, how do we keep this interesting? Because I think so many couples, they just get in these routines, and they just get so used to each other. They just kind of lose that attraction, sort of that polarity, that magnetism. So it's about keeping things interesting and keeping attracted to each other, basically.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with you. But I also think it's like viewing it in a different way instead of the whole, which of course, maybe this is America or maybe this is just how the world is as a whole now. Like, oh, you came, I came by.
Yeah.
Just fast food sex, And so I think that, it's like viewing it in a, let's not rush to orgasm. Let's focus on, like that's why I love the whole thing about planning sex dates or planning dates where it's just you and your partner, where you can really get to, especially because I feel like people, the whole, oh, we don't have time.
Yeah.
Well, you have time for sports. You have time to watch Netflix.
Yeah, that's such a common thing. I don't have time for this.
I mean, that's bullshit.
Yeah, but I sit around and I watch 2 hours of TV every day. I watch Netflix all night, so.
Definitely. I'm like, you watch porn for 30 minutes. That could have been. But it's all about changing your perspective and really thinking, okay, how bad do you want this relationship to work?
Mm-hmm.
You're right. I have had couples tell me that. And I'm like, well, I mean, but then I've also had people tell me too, like where, and I don't know, maybe if you've had this or not, but where a man will come to me, he really wants to work with me. He's like, okay, I'm all in. but then the wife isn't, and she's okay with not really having sex, or she's okay with only having it once a month.
Yeah. Yeah. They just get used to that.
Yes, but it's also the fact that she doesn't even realize that there's anything deeper to sex.
Yeah.
You know, and she doesn't really see that the benefit. I mean, she's probably having only clitoral orgasms, and so she's like, what's the point?
Yeah, definitely. So it's like, sex, it really becomes like a practice. Like, okay, well, we've got to take some time and do this thing so we can get better at it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the whole thing. I said this before, but like, we plan everything else. Why would you not plan that? I know people think it's like not, attractive or whatever. They want like this spontaneous, but it's like, I plan my gym sessions. We plan this, you have to plan it.
Yeah, for sure. And that'll help you be consistent with it. And then, it becomes a great thing.
Yeah. Even women, I'm like, ladies, did you sell pleasure this morning? You told me you were going to put it on your calendar.
Cool. Well, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything else you want to say?
Well, they can contact me. My email is haleyhelveston491@gmail.com, or they can follow me on Instagram or YouTube. I am Haley Helveston. And then I also want to say too that just any of the women out there that are really struggling, like not able to have an orgasm, or maybe you see your sex life is not where you thought it would be or want it to be, contact me, because I do think that, like, especially for women, like, it's so much more than you realize it is. And I think that it's just about changing your beliefs about it.
Yes, totally. So it's our sexual energy it's the foundation of our being, and it's such a powerful force to work with. And a lot of people just kind of put it away in the closet. So you can really transform your life and really take everything to another level when you really have a great relationship with your sexuality.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you're more connected to your intuition. And here's the quote too that I love, y'all. Like, if you don't speak up if you don't speak up in bed, you're not going to speak up in the boardroom, or something like that. Like, if you don't speak up in bed. But true though, because it's like, oh, okay, so you don't think your sexual needs matter. Why would you think your needs at work matter?
Yeah.
So everything is connected.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome.
Yes.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Haley. It's always great talking with you. Go follow Haley on Instagram. I'll put your information in the link to this video, or in the description of this video. So yeah.
Okay.
Thanks
Sounds
for
great.
joining me,
Thanks for having
and
me.
we'll talk soon.
Okay.